So today I was looking at DJ Vlad, and it was this guy. His name is Wi-Fi, his funeral. I think that's his name. That's how you pronounce his name or whatever. And he was talking about how, you know, at an early age he would pop pills, and how he had 2 strokes. And at one point in time, I think it was the right side of his body or the left side of his body, he was paralyzed. And he just kept on going on and on and on about, you know, him taking pills and being suicidal. And I went to, you know, check out his videos, and that's all he talks about is, you know, popping pills and all the rest of that stuff. And it's crazy because in order for me to keep up with these rappers, you know, to know who's who, you know, I go to DJ Academic's channel as well as DJ Vlad's. And one thing that I see that's in common, you know, coming from these new generation rappers, they're suicidal just as well as they suffer depression. At least that's what they say. And the thing of it is that when you have rappers, you know, believe it or not, even though you rappers don't want to admit that you're role models, you are. So when you talk about suicide and being depressed and all of that stuff, guess what? That rubs off on your fan base. And now all of a sudden, what's trending is being depressed and suicidal. And it seems as though that a lot of the youth are talking about that type of stuff. And it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Like, when I was younger, right? I never forget it. Like, so I lived in Durham, North Carolina, right? And at that time, it was like 2 years that I had lived in Durham, North Carolina, right? I had visited Durham, North Carolina when I was living in New York for the summers, and I loved it because it was grass and no trains and wasn't a whole bunch of people, and it was just beautiful. You know, my grandfather, my grandmother, they treated me great, and my aunt, she gave me whatever I wanted. So when it was time for my mother to make the decision to move down south because my grandfather died and my grandmother was staying in this big house, and she was like, well, you know, do I want to come here? I was like, yes. But when I got there 2 years later, you know, after my grandmother remarried and she basically kicked us out, you know, we had to live on the west end of Durham, and I saw the hood. I was ready to go. So I told my moms, hey, listen, I want to move back to New York. I want to move in with my father. And she said no. And I was depressed for a while. And I thought about suicide. And I never forget that day. You know, I took a steak knife, right? And I put it towards my wrist. And I just rubbed it slightly across it. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't know that suicide's supposed to hurt. You know what I'm saying? And after that, I never attempted or ever thought about it. And I have mixed views about people that commit suicide. You know, some people say that, you know, they don't want to take on the ills in life, so they dead themselves out. While other people say that's a weak way of, you know, taking on life, is to kill yourself because you can't handle depression. And I don't want to answer it either way. I'm just like really mixed on it. You know, I don't want to understand suicide, people that are suicidal or have committed suicide. I don't get it because it's like life is precious. And I've been through so many things, to the point where the average person would probably commit suicide if they were me. I grew up without a father. My father wasn't there in my household. I grew up with the same type of ills that the average person has right about now. But I never tried to kill myself. Like I said, the first that time when I put the steak knife to my arm, and I wasn't planning on killing myself. I was just like, yo, this is painful. Ain't no way in the world. And as far as dealing with depression, you know, I can't even say that I've been depressed. I can say that I've been stressed. I can say that I've had my bad days, but for my understanding of what depression is, it's a state that you just cannot get out of. That you really need some professional help in order to get out of that depressional state that you're in. And at that point in time, you can't function. And I can tell you that I've never been in that situation. Yeah, true indeed, there's been times when I sat at home for 2 or 3 days and didn't wash my ass, and I was just sitting there like, man, what am I gonna do? I'm caught in this situation. I got bills to pay and this, that, and so forth. But guess what? I always got myself up out of it. Yeah, true indeed, I grow my beard out and not edge it up and just wolf it. But a couple days, a couple weeks or a month later, I'll cut it all off and give myself an edge up. I don't know anything. I can't comprehend, depression and people that are suicidal. All I know is that it's running rampant in our community, the black community that is. And I could only guess why. And my guess is, of course, the influence of rappers and entertainers that pop pills, that talk about they're depressed and that they're suicidal. Of course, it's trending now to be suicidal and be depressed all the time. But I do think that it's something else too. And I may be wrong. But I think that it stems from our generation, the 90s generation, that said one key slogan when they were talking about their children. We said, yo, I'm going to have my children and I'm going to give them everything that I didn't have when I was younger. I think that's what sparked the fire. So what I'm saying to you all is that this generation is privileged, and that sometimes the youth have to go through things in order to appreciate life. But when you're privileged, you can't appreciate life like that. You just can't. So any and everything that's thrown at you, you're not capable of handling it. You see, I was homeless at 16. I ran away from home at 16. I've been through it all. I've been through the whole thing with my stepfather punching me in my face. I've been jumped. I've been homeless. I've been in a situation where I was so broke one day, I had to go inside the grocery store and steal bread and at that time I was eating meat. Steal bread and turkey meat and cheese and mayonnaise in order to eat. And this is the point that I'm making. These children are not going through anything in order for them to say, hey, this is nothing. I remember when this happened and I handled that. That's the only thing that I can think of, a phantom. Because it's just our generation, the 90s, we did not have a lot of suicides. Yo, it broke my heart. It broke my heart when Capital Steez jumped off the goddamn building and killed himself. Because I just knew that Pro Era was gonna be just the savior to hip hop. And he was gonna lead the pack as well as with Joey Badass. But this man was under such a depressive state. And I've heard interviews of Joey Badass saying that Capital Steez said that he was gonna kill himself. I'm just trying to understand why didn't anyone help him? I just don't get it. Jumped off a goddamn building while holding a holy Bible, and they said they couldn't even open the casket. We have to prepare our youth for the world, because if we don't, they're gonna get chewed up and spit out. think about this, man. You got 14, 15-year-olds talking about they're depressed and that they're ready to commit suicide. What are you going through at 15, 14 years old for you to say these things? I can tell you when I was 14, 15, I was out there playing basketball and thinking about girls. I had no personal interest in being depressed or suicidal. But that's where our youth are at right now. And it's growing like a wildfire. I'm telling you, if you have children, look out, be on the lookout for that. If they start acting different, be on the lookout for that. Styles P, his stepdaughter, killed herself. If they're not killing themselves, like literally killing themselves, they're doing drugs. They're taking pills and overdosing, having heart attacks and dying like Juice WRLD. And I'm more than sure that there's some children, plural, out there that's like, yo, I want to go out like Juice WRLD did. I want to pop pills and drink lean until I just fade out, because I no longer want to handle life anymore. We gotta watch out. We gotta watch out. And if we gotta cut them off for this hip hop now, because this ain't even hip hop anymore. I don't even want to call it hip hop. This drug music, we need to cut them off. Period. And our children need to go through some things. If you got to take your children to a homeless shelter, and show them how the homeless people live, and just teach them about life and principles and morals and, how to be strong mentally, physically, and spiritually, that's what you got to do. Other than that, we're going to lose our children to depression and to suicide. My name is Langston 2092. I want you to like, comment, subscribe, and definitely share this video.